As we stand firmly in 2025, looking out at a horizon that shifts with every passing geopolitical tremor, Canada finds itself at a defining crossroads. It is a moment that feels all too familiar to those of us who remember the soaring ambition of the mid-20th century, a time when our nation did not merely purchase technology, but defined it. Today, the question on the table appears at first glance to be a matter of procurement. What fighter jet truly fits Canada's unique needs in 2025 and beyond? On the surface, the debate is a binary choice between the sleek, high-tech American F-35 Lightning II and the cost-effective, cold-weather-ready Saab Gripen E. However, to view this strictly as a comparison of specifications, comparing thrust to weight ratios or radar cross-sections, is to miss the forest for the trees. This is not just a catalog shopping trip for military hardware. It is a profound question of values. It is a second chance at reclaiming our aerospace legacy. Because ultimately, we are not just buying jets, we are choosing what kind of country we want to be. Are we a nation that merely subscribes to the security umbrella of a superpower? Or are we a sovereign partner capable of standing on our own 2 feet? The unique defense landscape of the North. To understand the gravity of this choice, we must first ground ourselves in the reality of our geography. Canada is not a small European state with air bases every 100 kilometers. We are the custodians of the second largest landmass on Earth. When we speak of choosing our next fighter jet, we have to think far beyond the cinematic allure of dogfights and the raw numbers on a spec sheet. Canada's aircraft need to cover a lot of ground, literally and strategically. For the generation of Canadians who have watched the Arctic transition from a frozen frontier to a contested geopolitical chessboard, the stakes have never been higher. These jets must patrol and protect our vast Arctic region. It is a domain where climate change is opening up shipping lanes and where global tensions are making the North more contested than ever before. We are no longer looking at a silent wall of ice, we are looking at a busy, strategic corridor that demands a constant, capable presence. Furthermore, these aircraft have a duty that hits closer to our everyday security, meeting our NORAD obligations. They must be ready to intercept any aircraft entering North American airspace, often at a moment's notice. This is a 24/7 responsibility that does not pause for blizzards or budget cuts. Beyond our borders, they have got to be deployment ready for NATO missions and international operations, standing shoulder to shoulder with our allies in theaters that can range from the deserts of the Middle East to the forests of Eastern Europe. But there is a domestic angle that often gets overlooked in the glossy brochures of defense contractors. Here at home, these jets have to support emergency response too. They must be capable of landing on icy, short, and remote runways from coast to coast to coast. This requirement is non-negotiable. In the high north, a runway is often nothing more than a stretch of gravel or ice battered by winds that would ground a lesser machine. This isn't just about power or speed. It is about versatility, rugged readiness, and the distinct capability of defending our unique geography. We need a tool that works in Iqaluit in February, not just in the controlled environment of a desert test range. The American contender? The F-35 Lightning II? Enter the Lockheed Martin F-35, a Lightning II. There is absolutely no doubt that this is an impressive machine. It stands as the pinnacle of American military engineering, a fifth-generation stealth powerhouse that dominates the conversation in defense circles. Visually and technologically, it is a marvel. With its radar-absorbent airframe and advanced composite materials, it is built to disappear from enemy screens, offering a level of stealth that was the stuff of science fiction only a few decades ago. Inside the cockpit, the technology is even more staggering. The F-35 features cutting-edge sensor fusion, effectively making it a flying data hub. It doesn't just see the battlefield, it absorbs it. It links pilots, command centers, and allied forces in real time, sharing target data and threats with a seamless integration that provides unprecedented situational awareness. In terms of raw performance, it can reach speeds of over Mach 1.2, pushing the envelope of supersonic flight. Perhaps the most symbolic piece of technology associated with the F-35 is its interface. It is paired with a smart helmet system so advanced that it allows the pilot to look through the floor of the plane. However, this level of sophistication comes at a cost that is hard for the average taxpayer to fathom. The helmet alone costs more than $400,000 per unit. That is the price of a comfortable family home in many parts of Canada, sitting on the head of a single pilot. The price of prestige. This brings us to the uncomfortable reality that often sits in the shadow of the F-35's technological brilliance. The price tag. All that cutting-edge technology comes with an equally advanced financial burden. As of the latest estimates, each jet costs between 100 and 150 million Canadian dollars just to purchase. That is a staggering capital investment for a fleet of 88 aircraft. But any veteran of the aerospace industry or prudent fiscal planner knows that the sticker price is just the tip of the iceberg. The real cost lies in keeping the birds in the air. Operating the F-35 is an incredibly expensive endeavor, costing over $33,000 US per flight hour. When you do the math, converting that to Canadian dollars and multiplying it over thousands of training and patrol hours, the numbers become astronomical. The lifetime cost of a single F-35 is projected to be over $250 million Canadian dollars. That is $250 million for one aircraft. For a demographic of Canadians who have spent decades contributing to the tax base, who understand the value of a dollar and the necessity of funding healthcare, education, and infrastructure, these numbers demand scrutiny. We are talking about committing tens of billions of dollars to a platform that burns through money as fast as it burns through jet fuel. Is this the most responsible way to secure our skies? The black box problem, a question of control. However, if the cost is the headache, the issue of control is the heartbreak. Here is the real kicker, the detail that should keep every Canadian strategist awake at night. Control. If Canada proceeds with the F-35, we are effectively signing a rental agreement for our own security. Canada won't have access to the F-35 source code. This is the digital brain of the aircraft, the DNA that dictates how it flies, how it fights, and how it survives. Without access to this code, we cannot upgrade it, we cannot patch it, and we cannot even repair key systems without American approval. We would be purchasing the most advanced fighter jet in the world, yet we would be treated like a user with a locked smartphone. All maintenance and spare parts are routed through US suppliers within a strictly controlled global supply chain. If they say stop, we stop. Our fleet could be grounded not by an enemy missile, but by a logistical bureaucratic hold in Washington. This is not a theoretical fear. We must remember the political volatility of our southern neighbor. We have seen how quickly alliances can be strained by America First policies. Remember that President Donald Trump didn't just suggest cutting off parts to allies, he boasted about it. He openly used defense supplies as leverage in trade and diplomatic disputes. He even floated the idea of selling detuned versions of the F-35 to countries that don't fall in line with US foreign policy. This begs a terrifying question. What happens if Canada's foreign policy diverges from that of the United States? What if we need to deploy our assets in the Arctic to assert sovereignty in a way that Washington does not support? For a country like Canada, a G7 democracy that has spent the last century cultivating an independent voice on the world stage, a peacekeeping innovator, and a sovereign nation, this reliance is not just expensive, it is a strategic vulnerability. It is a surrendering of our autonomy. To be dependent on a foreign power for the very software that allows our pilots to fly is to admit that we are no longer masters of our own house. The echoes of history. This situation resonates with a profound sense of déjà vu for many of us. We have walked this path before. In the 1,950 seconds, Canada was not a client state. We were a pioneer. We were on the verge of fielding the Avro Arrow, a machine that was years ahead of its time. We had the engineers, the vision, and the capability, but we scrapped it. And why? Officially, the reason was cost, but unofficially, As history has whispered to us over the decades, it was a mix of changing strategic priorities, fighting bombers over the North Pole, and immense political pressure from the US to kill the project. By canceling the Arrow, we didn't just crush a plane, we dismantled an industry. We sent our best and brightest minds south to NASA and American aerospace firms. We outsourced our dreams. Now, in 2025, the F-35 represents a similar juncture. It is the easy button. It is the option that says, let the Americans handle the tech. We will just write the check. But is that who we are? The F-35 is undoubtedly a Ferrari of the skies. It is sleek, it is fast, and it is admired. But you do not drive a Ferrari on a gravel road in the Northwest Territories in the middle of January. And you certainly don't buy a car that the dealership can remotely disable if they disagree with where you are driving it. The allure of the F-35 is the allure of the American dream, big, bold, and expensive. But we are Canadians. Our dream is different. Our dream is built on resilience, on practical ingenuity, and on the quiet confidence that we can survive and thrive in conditions that would break others. We need a solution that respects our taxpayers' wallets, respects our harsh geography, and, most importantly, respects our sovereignty. As we look at the billions of dollars flowing out of our economy and into the coffers of Lockheed Martin, we must ask, is there another way? Is there a path that offers modern capability without the shackles of foreign dependency? The answer lies in looking past the hype and focusing on the fit. It requires us to look at a partner that understands the cold, understands the need for independence, and is willing to offer us something the US never will, a true partnership. The Nordic alternative, smart power over brute force. This brings us to the alternative, a contender that hails not from the deserts of Nevada, but from the granite and ice of Scandinavia, Saab's JAS 39 Gripen E. For years, critics have tried to frame the Gripen as the budget option, a second-tier fighter for countries that cannot afford the real thing. This is a dangerous misconception. To dismiss the Gripen because it costs less is to misunderstand the very nature of modern engineering. In the world of 2025, complexity is not a virtue. Efficiency is. The Gripen E is no slouch. It is a 4.5 generation multi-role fighter that is fast, nimble, and packed with technology that rivals, and in some specific areas, arguably surpasses its heavier competitors. Consider its engine performance. The Gripen E is capable of supercruise, meaning it can fly at speeds over Mach 1.2 without using its afterburners. For a layman, this might sound like technical jargon, but for a mission planner, it is a game changer. Flying without afterburners means massive fuel efficiency. It means the aircraft can stay in the air longer, patrol further into the Arctic, and remain on station when others would be forced to turn back to refuel. It is the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. In Canada's vast geography, we need the marathon runner. Technologically, it is equipped with a modern AESA radar system and, crucially, an infrared search and track system. This is a vital detail in modern aerial warfare. While the F-35 relies on hiding from radar, the Gripen's IRST can detect heat signatures, meaning it can potentially spot and track stealth aircraft without ever turning on its own radar, thereby not giving away its position. It effectively turns the hunter into the hunted. For long-range engagements, it carries Meteor missiles with an engagement envelope of over 100 kilometers, ensuring that Canadian pilots can deter threats long before they enter visual range. Furthermore, it boasts a full electronic warfare EW suite, giving it advanced jamming, countermeasure, and self-defense capabilities that are integrated directly into the airframe, not bolted on as an afterthought. The economic reality, a $12 billion difference. But let us return to the numbers, because in a democracy, fiscal responsibility is a form of patriotism. The numbers do not lie, and the contrast is stark. A brand new Gripen comes in at about $85 million Canadian per unit. That is significantly well below the $100 150 million price tag of the F-35. But the purchase price is only the entry fee. The true savings are found in the daily grind of operations. Each hour of flight in a Gripen costs around $7,000 compared to the staggering $33,000 for the F-35. Over the lifetime of the jet, the Gripen costs nearly half of what we would pay for an F-35 fleet. Let's project this out. If Canada follows through with the plan to buy 88 new fighter jets, what does the ledger look like? The F-35 comes with a steep acquisition cost of around $10 billion Canadian. When you add the $15 to $20 billion more in long-term support and life cycle costs, the total approaches $30 billion. In contrast, the Gripen starts at a lower acquisition cost of about $7.5 billion Canadian. Even after adding $10 to $12 billion for local production, maintenance, and support, the total comes closer to $18 billion. That is a $12 billion difference. $12 billion. That is not just a rounding error in a federal budget. That is real money with real potential. What could Canada do with $12 billion saved? We could revolutionize our national cyber defense infrastructure, securing our power grids and financial systems against foreign attacks. We could build robust Arctic infrastructure, including deep water ports and forward operating bases that assert our sovereignty permanently, not just when a patrol plane flies over. We could expand support for our veterans, ensuring those who served receive the care they deserve. We could pour that capital into Canadian innovation, strengthening our universities and tech sectors. In short, it is not just about what we buy, it is about what we can build with the rest. The strategic fit built for the true north. Beyond the dollars, we must examine operational reality. We touched on this earlier. The F-35 is a runway princess. It generally requires long, pristine, paved runways and often heated hangars to function reliably and maintain its stealth coatings. Now, let's talk about the Gripen. It was born in Sweden, a non-aligned nation with a defense doctrine very similar to what Canada's should be: disperse and survive. The Gripen is designed to take off from icy roadways less than 800 meters long. It is built for Nordic winters. It allows for rapid deployment to remote locations. Imagine a squadron operating out of a highway strip in northern Quebec or a small municipal airport in the Yukon. It offers quick turnarounds and field maintenance with minimal support. A small team of conscripts and one technician can rearm and refuel a Gripen in the middle of a snowstorm in under 20 minutes. This is capability. This is resilience. If a major conflict ever broke out, large air bases would be the first targets destroyed by missiles. The F-35 seconds trapped there would be useless. The Gripens, dispersed across the country's vast network of small airstrips and highways, would still be fighting. It is already battle-tested in joint operations with several allied nations, proving it can integrate seamlessly with NATO systems. So, who fits better? For NATO war games and offensive stealth missions deep inside foreign airspace, the F-35 is a strong contender. But for Canadian sovereignty, for remote ops, for defensive patrols, and for cost control, the Gripen isn't just a fighter. It is purpose-built for a country like ours. When national defense is on the line, fit matters more than fame. The ultimate prize, sovereignty, and the Made in Canada dream. However, the most compelling argument for the Gripen, and the one that speaks directly to our national soul, is the offer on the table from Saab. It is an offer the Americans simply cannot and will not match: full technology transfer. Saab has offered Canada full access to the technology. That means local assembly, local maintenance, and critically Canadian control over software, upgrades, and logistics. No black boxes. No permission slips from Washington. No political strings, just Canadian sovereignty. This deal would mean that the brains of the aircraft would be open to Canadian engineers. We could modify the threat libraries ourselves. We could integrate new Canadian-made weapons without asking for a foreign government sign-off. If a system breaks, we fix it here, in Canadian facilities, with Canadian parts. But it gets better. This local production means high-paying jobs, advanced training, and research and development opportunities for Canadian engineers and technicians. This isn't just about buying jets. It is about rebuilding a made-in-Canada aerospace sector. It is about self-reliance. In an increasingly uncertain world, where allies can turn inward and supply chains can shatter, possessing the industrial capacity to maintain your own defense equipment might be the most strategic choice we can make. A vision for 2025, the Arrow 2. Let's not forget our past. The ghost of the Avro Arrow still haunts the hangars of our collective memory. In the 1,950 seconds, we built a supersonic jet fighter that was the envy of the world. It was fast. It was innovative, and it was ours. But that dream was scrapped, a victim of short-sighted politics and foreign pressure. We were told it was too expensive. We were told to just buy American missiles instead. We listened then, and we lost a generation of progress. Now, in 2025, we stand at the crossroads again. The parallel is striking. We can choose the F-35, effectively outsourcing our defense and handing over control to foreign governments, repeating the history of dependency. Or we can choose the path of partnership with Saab. Imagine this scenario. We accept the Gripen deal. We build a factory in Nova Scotia or Quebec or Manitoba. We take the Swedish airframe, but we infuse it with Canadian avionics, Canadian software, and Canadian spirit. We don't just call it the Gripen. We revive our national pride. We name our next aircraft the Arrow 2. Made in Canada. Made for Canada. This is not a fantasy. It is a tangible policy choice. It is a choice to stop being a customer and start being a builder. It is a choice to ensure that the $18 billion spent on defense stays within our borders, paying the mortgages of Canadian workers and funding the education of Canadian children, rather than vanishing into the US military-industrial complex. A question of character. Both jets offer strengths. The F-35 is a marvel of stealth and connectivity. The Gripen is a marvel of efficiency, adaptability, and independence. But in my humble opinion, as we look toward the unpredictable challenges of the late 2020 seconds and 2030 seconds, only one offers true sovereignty. Only one offers the jobs that strengthen our economy. Only one offers the savings that allow us to build a more resilient nation. And only one fits the rugged, freezing, vast reality of the Canadian terrain. It is time to ask ourselves a hard question. Are we content to buy the American dream, or is it finally time to start building the Canadian one? We have the talent. We have the history. We have the opportunity. The $12 billion in savings is there for the taking. The technology is there for the learning. The sovereignty is there for the claiming. What do you think? Should the next Canadian fighter be the F-35, the Gripen, or something we build ourselves upon the foundation of a true technology partnership? This is not just a decision for politicians in Ottawa. It is a decision about the future of our country. It is time for our voice to be heard. Let us know in the comments. Let's start the conversation that could change the course of our history. If this vision for a sovereign and self-reliant Canada resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us keep these important national conversations going. We want to hear your voice in the comments below. Do you believe prioritizing local jobs and technology transfer is worth choosing the Gripen over the F-35? How would you like to see Canada invest that potential $12 billion in savings, healthcare, Arctic defense, or veteran support? Is it finally time to revive the spirit of the Avro Arrow and build our own legacy again? Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there, Canada.